Hello and welcome to the Just Another Castle podcast. I'm your host, Matt, and with me this week is our late night comedy host, Unoclay.
Kellogg's is launching a new Super Mario themed cereal that will consist of toasted oats and colorful marshmallows. Can we get it, Mom? Said a 30-year-old who lives at home.
What's up? I was just watching Seth Meyers, Late Night with Seth Meyers on YouTube while I was working today. And that's, I had earlier in the day found out that to me, a guy who was around for the original Nintendo cereal system in the 80s, I was like, they're bringing back Nintendo cereal. I got really excited and wrote a note on the sticky note where we keep our grocery list. Can you get Mario cereal to my wife? And then I see this on Seth Meyers. They're calling me a 30-year-old man who lives with my parents. I was dying with laughter. I was like, all right, you nailed it, except for the age. I'm a little older than that. So yeah. So it was well timed. I'm super excited. I'm gonna eat the crap out of that crappy cereal. It's gonna be great. Yeah. Yeah, look at that. Nintendo getting references on late night television. What era do we live in, Matt?
I have no idea.
I can't believe it. We're breaking through. We're breaking through. So how are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right.
Been playing any video games this week or anything?
No, unfortunately not. I'm getting more busy with stuff. And yeah.
That stuff
it's good stuff and bad stuff.
Yeah.
More shifts at work or whatever, but also just some side projects for other people.
Yeah.
So that's the good part.
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff will get you, man. I know that our co-hosts have stuff themselves this week, namely finals. So it's just going to be you and me this week. I just spoke with Eli, and he's like, there is no possible way I can break away to talk about video games with a bunch of dorks this week. And I was like, yeah, but I mean, I'm the one calling you, so I was hoping you could join our podcast. I don't know who you're talking about dorks, but yeah, he's not getting here, and I guess Mike's in the same position you said, so it'll be just us. Yep. So prepare for a Matt and Clay double dose this week, everybody. We're going to give you all the news, right?
Yeah.
The double deuce. Grody. Yeah, man. So you haven't been playing anything? No video games this week? This is a horrible life you're setting up for yourself, bro.
I know.
Man. No good. No Switch. No nothing. No PS. Didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sending in my Joy-Cons and like it within this week too.
Good. As if people are just joining us, we've talked before about it. I got my Joy-Cons repaired, and they're fixed now, and Nintendo does it for free. So if your Joy-Cons are acting up, get them fixed. So yeah, that's cool. Good time. If you're too busy to play games, it's a good time to get them fixed. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I did buy a PS4. I haven't opened it yet.
Yeah.
It's probably going to sit there for quite a while, unfortunately. I could probably put it in the basement because our main level is being worked on, and there's going to be too much dust floating around, so I don't really want to set it up and have to move it.
Right.
The Switch, I already had to move it at one point, and I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to like plug it in because the exhaust vent is on the top, and the dust is coming from the ceiling, so I really don't want to have a $400 paperweight without even reaching the first year. So
I was looking at that myself. I was looking at the vents on the Switch myself, and our house is just very dusty all the time because we have like forced air, not electric heat or whatever, the kind with vents where it blows. And our house is old, and our city is just, like many cities, just very dusty outside. And I don't know, it's a combination of factors. I think old house and forced air and dusty outside. So our house, like you can sweep and dust, and within a day it's dusty again. Like, you can see visible dust on things, and just life. But I've thought about that too when I look at the vents on the Switch, and I think, geez, I hope it's all good, because there's nothing I can really do other than like try to keep it clean. But that's occurred to me as well. It's not industrial dust like you're talking about, but I've wondered about that. I'm hoping that the system is built to accommodate, general atmospheric levels of dust that might just get in there, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does to some extent, because I mean, like a lot of electronics have exhaust vents on them, of course, but they're also on like the back where it's not just gonna fall from the ceiling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know how that'll work out.
Welcome everybody to the Talking About Dust in Our Electronics podcast. yeah, good stuff. So anyhow, the Dusty Duo this week coming at you hot takes on dust, bro. I don't know, man. I feel for you. Got to work a lot myself, but mine happens to be 9 to 5, and I've been gaming my standard at night. Nothing too new. With me over here, not since last week. I mean, I one of my good friends this weekend. I was playing Rocket League with one of my friends, practicing, who's also a new Switch owner and doesn't know how to play it. So we're playing against each other because predictably online is difficult because people have been playing it for a year online or more and really know what they're doing if they're coming in from like other networks on other consoles on this new crossplay world. And so we just agreed, let's just practice against each other with bots as our teammates, and it's really fun because we're pretty much well matched, and it's a lot of back and forth and a lot of good times. But another friend of ours calls us at like midnight when we're in the middle of just like playing some Rocket League. This is like Friday night or Saturday night, I forget which, and he is like, I don't know what he was calling about. I think he was calling to see what we were doing. He was just like, whatever, bugging me. And I'm like, he knows I'm a gamer, and he mostly plays I think he plays like Xbox or something mostly. But he knows I'm a Nintendo guy. And he's like, Clay, he's like, I thought of you last night. I was like, my wife was away and I was home by myself. So I just put on a long play of Golgo 13 on NES and just like watched it for 3 hours. And I was I was just like, he's a weird dude. He's funny as hell. I'm like, why would you do that? I have the game and I live like a quarter mile from you. Like, why wouldn't you just call me up and come over and play the real version of Golgo 13? Yeah. And he's like, you have it. I'm like, I do. It's not even a rare cartridge. It's probably like, I don't know. It's probably a $10 cartridge. Yeah, maybe 15. I have a copy laying right here. Would you like to come over? And he's like, I'm there. And he's like, comes at like 12:30 at night, and like proceeds to like want to sit there and play an NES game from like 1987 roughly, like for like hours. Like it's like 2:30, 3 in the morning, and I had to like kick him out pretty much. I was just like, I got to go to bed, man. Like I cannot stay up all night and watch you play NES. Like I mean, trust me, this is like a dream come true and everything, but like, I got to go to bed. It was like having to kick him out, where I was like, you can come over another time. It's fine. Like it'll still be here. It's not like I'm renting it or something. I do own it, and I'm more than happy to invite you back. But I got to go. And he's like, this game just is the greatest music. This game just is the greatest game from my childhood. He had this overpowering fit of nostalgia. And I suspect a couple beers that had like convinced him it was a must do at that moment of his life to like come over and like check it out. So it was great. And for people who don't know, Golgo 13 is a manga spy series from Japan that had NES game that was very popular back in the day. It's very much like James Bond. It's pretty much like Japanese James Bond. I mean, I've never read the comics, so I can't speak to it. I only know the game, but it's pretty much like he's an assassin who smokes and drinks and in fact has sex with girls in the game. Like, and this is an NES game. Like, they tactfully do it off screen. The game is almost more known for the sex than it is anything else at this point, because it's so notorious that, it's very James Bondy. Like, you'll finish a mission and you'll encounter a female agent and she'll be like, tomorrow we have to go fight and we may die, but tonight is ours. And then you'll the lights will go out and you'll just see your energy meter refilling like Grand Theft Auto 3 style. And you'll just be like, huh. When I was a kid, I probably just thought they were kissing or something. I don't know what I would have thought, like they were doing, but like, it's really over obvious, that you are banging your way to health, like in an NES game, a licensed gold seal of approval NES game, so God. It's one of those things that slipped through their net, it seems like, or maybe it was just so Japanese. I don't know how you would say, like fondly known in Japanese culture that they just like let it go through for some reason, you know. I even remember, I'm pretty sure Nintendo Power covered Golgo 13 back in the day,
Wow.
which makes it even weirder because
Yeah.
it's like it isn't like America. They had to do like game guides on it and stuff, like because it's a really complex, difficult in some ways game with like maze elements, first person maze elements, and like all kinds. It's a really neat game for anyone who's like interested in a really dynamic, unique NES game. I recommend it if you've never played it. It's got lots of different forms. It's sort of like maybe would remind some people of Bayou Billy, only without the insane, ridiculous head smash on the wall difficulty level, like where you can't finish Bayou Billy. It's virtually impossible. It's just the hardest game in the world, but it was ambitious that it had different play styles. Some levels were shooting levels, some levels were driving levels, some levels were fighting levels, and Golgo 13 is like that. It changes the play style a lot, so it's really ambitious for a game of that era. And I recently discovered, I had never finished it before, but I discovered there is a ridiculously complex cheat code you can put in to start from any level because the game doesn't have a password or a save system. So you're supposed to basically effectively sit and play the whole game beginning to end in one go, which it's pretty hard. And that when you don't know what you're doing, it's from a different era. They expected you to literally sit there for like 6-7 hours without turning your system off and like finish the game, and I ain't got time for that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm playing through it with like using the cheats to restart wherever I finish up from a given night, and I'm enjoying it. So there's your retro blast for the week. So yeah, I'd mentioned it to you, and you were like, "What's Golgo 13?" And I was like, "Damn it! I'm not doing the job. I'm not doing my job educating these guys." Like, oh my god, So that's why I thought I'd bring it up this week because I'm pretty sure it's very well known with people of that era, but it hasn't had any modern sequels in America that I'm aware of. So it's like, yeah, maybe it's a little bit forgotten to a lot of people, like in terms of if you're not a weeb, or if you're not an old Nintendo head, that's like up on all your NES games and all that stuff. So yeah, that's it. That's what I've been playing, other than Rocket League and maybe a little Binding of Isaac here and there, that kind of thing.
Cool.
So,
random question. Black Friday was recently, and I noticed it where I work. I think someone either brought a Switch back or there was just one left over. I'm pretty sure someone just returned one. But so I put out on like a Facebook group for my area, like, oh, if you're looking for a Switch, there's one at this store. Because, I don't know if they're selling or not or whatever. Just thought I'd put out there because some stores you wouldn't really think of having certain electronics and whatnot. So I figured, maybe someone will look over it, won't realize this is an option, and here's one for them. And no, I don't think anyone really responded with like, oh, sure, I'll get it, because it's obviously still at work. But a couple of people said, oh, yeah, I've seen some around Walmart. They're still out there and about. So just curious, have you noticed if there's any like on actual shelves over there? Like, I wonder if the Christmas craze hasn't come in yet, or if people are just got them already, or I don't know, it's at a steady pace or something.
It's hard to say. I mean, sales numbers, we're going to have to wait a few months to see what the Christmas season is. Like I had said when we were talking about Black Friday a few weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, but the experience I had was when I saw it at the store, and I had never seen that before, where you could just get one, where it was like on the day after Black Friday, they had signs at the GameStop, "We have Switch," and I was amazed by that. So who knows? I mean, like, yeah, we should mark this as like the time when I wonder if this is where it switches. No, yeah, the pun was not intended. It really wasn't, but it switches over. It switches over to being that Switch is available
or maybe,
around now.
Maybe it's just too early to say because Black Friday was recent enough, and the people who were going to get them for Christmas as gifts got it at Black Friday. Maybe that's why.
I don't know.
It's just weird to see, like, hey, here's one that might be going out, and some of the people were like, yeah, whatever, there's some at Walmart. It's like, oh, I guess people aren't going crazy. Like, not that they're not interested, but maybe that, like, the main audience that we're driving for it is like content.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It wouldn't be good if we've plateaued. I would say this is Eli's department to rant about.
Mhm.
I can't say much on that, but my gut instinct is like, yeah, it wouldn't be good if we've plateaued here, and this is the top of the sales, because I mean it's been going so incredibly well
Yeah.
for sales for
Well, I mean,
months,
at some point it's gonna be like, how do I even phrase it? At some point, you're gonna reach a point where you're going to be able to supply the amount that's demanded, and there'll be like stuff on shelves. Like, obviously, they're not going to be sold out forever, is what I'm saying.
Right.
So
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
that's the case. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just interesting anecdote.
Yeah.
I noticed.
Neat. Keep us posted on the the scene up there, because for us it's like down here, we only know like what's what's happening in America. So it's interesting to hear what the Canadian scene is like from your view. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting. All right. Well, cool. What else is in the news, dude? Anything we want to talk about this week?
Let's get into the news. Mega Man 11 is coming next year.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
Yeah,
and I love it.
Big
and
news.
I'm gonna cry.
Big. Yeah, I'm happy that this makes you happy, man. Like, give us your history. It's probably been a while since we talked about Mega Man on here, so you're a Mega Man fan, right? I know this, but give us a little background for you.
Okay, so I think I first started playing a Mega Man game, I want to say like early teens, like 12 or 13. I think this was the first instance, so I'll just assume that it is. My cousin, who's like 20 years older than me or something, weird family tree. My mom was born like, there's a 20-year gap between the oldest person and the youngest person in my family, or in my mom's family, so that's whatever. I have siblings or cousins that are way older. Anyway, whatever.
Right.
My cousin gave me a disc for MAME, which is the multiple arcade machine emulator. And
Right.
on there was Mega Man: The Power Battle, which was an arcade Mega Man game. And it's actually kind of cool because you fight Robot Masters, I think, across the whole classic series. I think it goes up to 8. Anyway, you face all the Robot Masters from like a bunch of different series. I mean, it's not really a side-scrolling game. It's just like it's you and the boss, and you just shoot him and whatnot. But that's where I first got interested in it, and it's cool. Especially, I don't know why, but I always like transformations. So Mega Man, Kirby. I think there's another one in there where you get like a new power and the character changes, that kind of thing. That's where I really first got into it, and that was really cool. I probably played some other Mega Man games like through emulators and whatnot, like well before the Virtual Console, of course, because there's a giant gap between when that released. But yeah, I played it there, played on some emulators, played it on.
Do you have a favorite? The Wii. Like, do you have that's not an automatic question when it comes to Mega Man discussions. Like, what's your favorite? Do you have one that stands out? Like, or is it just the nostalgia for that first experience that kind of has driven you, or like, is there one that leaps out at you? Because I mean, we all know the cool answers. Like, people are going to say, I don't want to put the answer in your mouth, but there's, I know as a lifelong fan of Mega Man, which ones people think are the best ones. Like out of the whole series, the people that have been diehards. Do you even? Even another way to ask it is, besides just numbered favorite, do you have like a series favorite, since Mega Man's branched off so many times? Are you like core series, or are you X, or are you, like, are you like all the Battle Network stuff, or where are you at with that?
Oh man, I don't know. I really like 2. X is also really great. I didn't get into like the Game Boy Advance, the like Z and ZX ones. I think I tried them a bit. For whatever reason, it didn't grab me.
Sure.
I really like Battle Network and Star Force, which I think are probably the black sheeps. It feels, I don't know if this is actually accurate, but it feels like no one really likes them a whole lot. even though I know that's not entirely true. I don't know. It just feels like they're the odd ones out, even though they probably have more representation than the Z and ZX ones. I don't know why. But
yeah,
I don't know. I kind of like all of them. I haven't actually played like all of the games. Even though I guess I should. I've played 1 to 3 on Classic. X. I think I don't know if I bought X2 at some point. I think I wanted to get on like a virtual console, whatever. All the Battle Network and Star Force ones. Supposedly we might get an X collection, which I might actually buy that because that series is pretty great. But I forget your question.
Right.
But I talked, so.
I was just asking about your history with Mega Man, like given as a context, because you're excited. And to me, I'm, I like, there's it warms my heart, to hear anyone of younger, to me, respective to my age, younger generations being excited about Mega Man, because Mega Man's never really fully left. He's kind of like hung around in various forms and all the different offshoots they've put out over the years. I'm a core Mega Man player. I've never cared for the other. We've talked about this a long time ago, but it's been many, many, many episodes since we've talked about Mega Man. It doesn't hurt. I mean, like, I don't have anything against the other offshoots that they've tried to spin him into, but the few times I've tried them, I haven't liked them. I don't even really like X, and that's probably mainly because I never played X.
I was gonna say if you didn't like the other ones because they're kind of weird. Like at least X is like the next step.
It's more that it's a really specific thing, and if it wasn't, I was talking on a games podcast to other gamers such as yourself and our audience, I would feel silly talking about it. But it's always the only one I've tried, to be fair, is X1, like the first X. And I didn't ever play it on original hardware. I only played it when they released it on what would it be? It would be on Wii, I think, or is it on Wii U? One of them had it on
both, I think.
Yeah, I forget which one I got it on. Got it on there to try it out because I think the cartridge is fairly expensive, so I knew I wasn't going to just spring for it at any point without knowing if I liked it or not. It was a little bit like I was a little skeptical that I would like it. And it's the weight. My point of saying that is that it's the weight of the way he feels different to me when you play it on Super Nintendo. And I feel like that about a lot of Super Nintendo games, although I adore Super Nintendo, that some series when they leapt from the NES to the Super NES, naturally they evolved the games. Naturally, some of the physics or the game control or the build changed. And Mega Man, at least in X, it's just like he's very heavy feeling. And this is such a technical thing. And like I said, it would be such a nerdy thing to comment on to anyone who doesn't understand video games. I am personally, I hold Mega Man 1 in the highest regard, and it isn't the most popular entry in the series. A lot of people think it's too hard, and a lot of people think it's a lot shorter, and a lot of people rightly say, well, it's almost like 2 and 3 where the series really saw its own vision realized, where it became the game, it evolved to the game it was meant to be. And I respect those arguments, and I love 2 and I love 3. I've beaten both of them multiple times. Just played 4 for the first time this past year. And I have 5 on 6 on deck in cartridge form, and I've never played them yet. Like, I'm sort of saving them since they're never going to make Mega Man 5 again. So sort of saving it. But the first one was always my favorite. It's probably a first love kind of thing, but it's also that even from Mega Man 1 to Mega Man 2 and 3, the game changed enough that I already remember thinking as a kid, I kind of liked it better when it was a little simpler, where he didn't have slide dashes and he didn't have the dog. Is his name Rush?
Yeah,
I think it's Rush. Yeah, he didn't have Rush, which I like all those things. It doesn't make me hate those games. I just think it made the games a lot easier a little bit, and maybe just changed the way the game worked a little bit. And I didn't mind the difficulty, although I do admit that the Mega Man 1 is like, if you could rewrite history, they should have made the Yellow Devil not be a character that you have to almost always beat with a glitch trick, like that you can start and stop the action with the pause button and cause multiple hits of damage by unpausing and pausing the screen during the battle. I haven't fought him in a long time. I'm not sure if I can beat him as an adult without having to do the cheat. But the problem is by the time you face him, I think you're pretty worn down, and so that's part of the problem. And famously, as kids, we all figured out that was the way to get through the game. So it was almost like you beat it with an asterisk, and you were like, yeah, I cheated, sort of, because that one boss is so stupid hard that, like, you get killed and get sent way far back, and I'm just not going to deal with that kind of thing. So I don't know, but I love 1, and I love Mega Man. I've never played the one that was on PlayStation. Maybe I will someday. I've heard it's not very good. And then I played 9 on Wii, and I've never played 10.
Even though this is called 11, I totally forgot. Yeah, I did play.
Yeah. No, I never played 10. I meant to, and I just never got around to it.
I don't think it was as good as 9. I don't know why.
Yeah, 9 was great. I mean, but it had been so long since we had an 8-bit Mega Man that it was like you were just thirsty at that point. You were just like, oh my God, they brought back 8-bit Mega Man. Like, thank God, like that feeling. So I should have probably given 10 more due. But I just never got around to it because honestly, I put so much time into 9 because I was doing all those achievements and stuff that I played it so much that it was like, I remember it came out not that long after 9, it felt like. And I was just like, I'm good. You know what I mean? I had my fill for the time.
Yeah.
So
you can only come back once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or at least like
exactly.
That. Like, you can't come back and be like, hey, after 20 years, we're making a new classic 8-bit thing. It's like, okay, you got. I should look into.
Do you happen to know if 9 and 10 are going to be whatever collections they release? Are they in the Legacy collection that's coming out? Are 9 and 10 in that?
Well, let me check. I would.
I was just thinking,
say yes, because there's no way that they would have.
But then is 7 in it? The PlayStation Black Sheep is 7 in it? Because that's, you know what I mean. Like you get into some weird. And what's 8 on? Like I don't even remember. Like
8 was PlayStation as well. I think it was 7 and 8 the PlayStation one? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've never played either. Like I'm gonna look at eBay while we're talking here too. Like since you're looking up the information on what the collection includes, like how much is Mega Man 7? Gonna see some live research for you guys as we talk through the Mega Man information here. Looks like Mega Man 7. No, okay, so Mega Man 7 is on Super Nintendo. To correct myself, it is a Super Nintendo cartridge, and as usual with an original Super Nintendo cartridge, prepare to pay stupid amounts of money. If it's not, it appears that if it is an authentic copy, not a reproduction, you're going to pay about $160 or up, like for an authentic. Yeah, those are some buy it now prices plus shipping, like that I'm looking at. There's reproduction copies that you can always get that are like people that have like flashed it onto another cartridge, like, and so you can buy what looks like a Mega Man 7 cartridge. This one is from China? Watch out, people. The more I dig into, you gotta. This has got to be fake because this is Mega Man 7, 3 available, $23. And let's look for the word reproduction. It's gotta be fake. So yeah, I think this is a remake.
Try to correct myself and fill the void.
Okay.
Both Legacy collections 1 and 2 are coming. It's
okay,
which is weird because I think 2 isn't like a separate. It's not like Legacy Collection 2 is all the X games or anything like that. It's just like, hey, we missed things out on the first one. So I don't even know why you're bothering with the first one if the second one has it. But anyway. Okay, this is weird. So the first collection is Mega Man 1 through 6, and the second one is 7 through 10.
Okay, so it does include the PlayStation.
So they do halvesies, which is weird.
Okay, well that the second one then is for me because 6. If I have 1 through 6, I have for my NES. So it's like they split it for the NES collection versus all the others.
Yeah.
That's a neat way to split it. And I would do that if I was the one making the editorial decision because it makes the most sense. Because I'd be super pissed if they said 1 through 5 are on the first collection just to numerically be sound and then split it down the middle and then put one of the NES ones on the other collection. Like that just sucks in your library, that it's like, you don't want it that way. It's like, no, I want my library to be like, make sense. And since after 6, we went all over the place. They went SNES to PlayStation to Wii. for 2 episodes, yeah, they belong on their own collection. So this is great because I have no use for the collection at this point of my life, like when I have the real cartridges for 1 through 6. But boy, am I going to be excited because I'm sitting here looking at my like games list of things that like I want to keep on my radar to buy at some point, and I'm adding Mega Man 8 to my PlayStation list, but which is a very small like list given my interests. But like Mega Man would be one I'd want to play. But if I get that collection, hey, I'll probably enjoy it more because I can play it on the go if it's on Switch, and like I won't have to be chained to my PlayStation to play it without any enhancements or without any of the other like content that they probably have included in those legacy collections. So I look forward to that. That sounds cool. So neat. So you're definitely excited.
You might want to try out 7 and 8 in some capacity or whatever, because I know I don't want to say they play more like X. Well, not the play that you were talking about, how the controls feel different from Mega Man 1 to 2 and 7 and 8. Like I don't remember. I think I just played it off on some emulator at one point, but they also feel like vastly different because like just Mega Man's proportions are changed. Like he's not the little square blob anymore. Yeah. So
of course, right. That's why I've heard like 8 isn't that good. I think I've heard. I don't want to slander it. I don't know that for a fact, but I've heard that it's not that good, and it's things like that make people think that that it's like they change the fundamentals of the game itself. So, but depending on the cost, I don't know if they've announced a cost for the legacy collections, but given that these games have been out for other consoles for a period of time, I'd expect it's not going to be brutal cost. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, as long as it's $30 or less, like even for those 4 games, even if I don't love them, just the fact that I'll get to play 10 and I'll have it like portable rather than having to play it on my Wii, and the fact that I can like not pay $150 for Mega Man 7 on a Super Nintendo, like just these things alone, you know what I mean? Because I could get a ROM of 7 and put it on my EverDrive cart that I have for my Super Nintendo and play it there, and that would be a definite option I'd consider, because the whole reason I have an EverDrive cart, even as a retro enthusiast, like who likes collecting cartridges, the EverDrive is a ROM flash cart I can put into my Super Nintendo. It's like, I get a little squeamish about games like Mega Man, where it's like, no, I really would love to own that cartridge. It's like I get a little weird about it. It's mainly I tend to use the EverDrive for things that I literally don't know if I'd ever play it otherwise. It's like, well, I am never going to spend $30 on some random Super Nintendo cart or more, which usually it's much more these days, for games that are like often not that good, because that's the reason I've never heard of them. It's like they're just like yard sale stuff that like has been priced up because of its rarity, and it's like, okay. So Mega Man is one of those ones that I probably find myself like not sure if I wanted to download the ROM of it, and because I'd be like, dude, maybe someday I'll buy this, maybe I'll just like spring for it and treat myself because it's freaking Mega Man, and he's like a legend, so yeah. But so let's talk about the modern. We talked about the old stuff enough. What about Mega Man 11, man? What about that trailer? You were the one that let me know about it. I didn't even know it existed. I'd missed the news. I hadn't been looking at game news. So what are you thinking?
Yeah. No, it looks great. I don't know if this is gonna offend you, but I'm glad it's not 8-bit, because the last thing I wanted is them, like, it's been 7 years since a Mega Man game, like an actual game, and if they just came out on a stream and said, oh, Mega Man 11, it's this 8-bit thing, it's like follows after it's like, okay, look, you waited this long just to make something that you already could have made before anyway, when you had, like, when it would have been relevant. It's like, that would be a slap in the face. Just because it's like, you could have made this like X amount of years ago if you really wanted to, and this is how you come back. So I'm glad it's not that, because it would have felt pathetic. I really like the art style. It looks like the concept art, but if it was like a 3D model, if that makes sense. Just I guess the shading and the lines popping out and whatnot, but
I'm trying to let you finish before I go all mic on you, so go ahead. Yeah,
okay. It's fine. I'll end off before letting you go by saying I did hope for like a new series instead. Like, there's Classic X, ZX, Battle Network, Star Force, all that stuff. I was kind of hoping for a new series, but it also looks really good and pretty, and I'll take it because at least it's coming back, and it's coming back in like a good way. It's not like, oh, we're tying it to the TV show. It's gonna be this garbage nonsense no one wants to play or anything like that. And Capcom is having
We can agree there.
Yeah, Capcom has been having problems with some of their games lately, like Marvel versus Capcom Infinite. People are, really mixed on. They have money problems and all this, so I'm fine with them going with something like, you know what, we'll just go back to the basics and make that good rather than try something new and not be able to fulfill that vision. And then,
sure,
as long as this game will sell and whatnot, and they get more money over time, then they can, experiment more. That's fine. I'll wait for that. So, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Right. No, that those are all sensible things. We can agree. We can lead with the agreement that I agree. I am glad it's not tied to some like property, like a TV show. Because God, yeah, you couldn't make me barf a little harder in my mouth. Like I'd be like, okay, Mega Man sold out. I'm already practically done with Star Wars. If this new Star Wars movie like has a CGI Yoda jumping around, I'm going to bang my head on the desk and leave the theater. I'm not going to tolerate my childhood, to quote a famous YouTuber, being ruined again and again by just rehashing the thing that was great back in the old day again and again. Like, let's have another scene with the with the Millennium Falcon like blasting over a planet. No, I already have a lot of problems like where we're going here. Like, and Mark Hamill's still here, so, and Carrie Fisher, R.I.P. and everything. Yeah. But like, boy, it better deliver, or somebody's gonna punch their ticket and be done with Star Wars and officially call it Jump the Shark.
They're already planning for another trilogy. It's like, man, we haven't even gotten the second movie yet. And they're all, like, we know it's coming. Disney bought them. Of course, they're gonna like milk it for its worth, but at least make news about it.
Yeah, I agree. But that aside, for a different podcast, totally different podcast right there. But like, I've already got issues here. Like, so I'm glad they're not tying Mega Man to some crap. Like anything other than, hey, it's Mega Man and he's back. Okay, I'm down with that. We don't know a lot. Okay, so I want to say that. I want to acknowledge we don't know a lot. We have a very small amount of information that Mega Man 11 is coming, and here's a couple screenshots. Here's a couple like very, very short videos, like very curated like gameplay videos. Like, that's fine. My first reaction could differ from like where I'll be at even after the next trailer, much less like by the time we get this game. My first reaction was the exact opposite of yours, was that, and I want to clarify it by saying what it reminded me of and why I felt that way. Because a game I really wanted to like and then didn't like was DuckTales Remastered. Huh. I really hated it. I thought it was garbage. I thought it played like garbage. Maybe the version on Wii U is glitchier somehow than the other versions, but there were bugs in it, and it felt crappy. It did not feel like original DuckTales, which, as everyone knows, is one of the most legendary Nintendo games of all time. It's a Capcom legend. It's solid gold, fun to play. It's a little too easy, but that doesn't make it any less of a great NES game. It's one of the must play of the NES library. That's why you'll still see it appear, years and years and years later on like top lists of like things that were on NES, like that it's one of the top games. It almost always breaks the top 50 on anyone's list of NES games, if not the top 30 or lower. Extremely, extremely popular game. And so playing the remaster version for me was like, this sucks, like that, like almost immediately. Like, and I'm not a Mike, like, to our co-podcaster that's like goes into it like expecting it to be like pleb trash, or something. Like, I'm like, no, like I expect this to be kind of fun, and it looked pretty, but the play action just felt wrong. It's a lot like my comment about Mega Man. It felt like the weight was wrong of the main character. It didn't feel right. The main fun of DuckTales is pogo jumping on people's heads. and being able to bounce around the screen and just like combo, like without really a combo system, but like combo kills and like bounce all over. And it was a silly, fun game. It's almost a bizarre game that it is that much fun, given how simple it is in some ways. But that's my first worry. That was my first reaction seeing it. It looks really pretty, but underneath the pretty is where the real story lies for me. And I'm like, I want to know, is this fun? Is this going to feel like Mega Man, or is this going to feel like when I played X? With due respect to people who adore X, and a lot of people do, it's a very popular game. Or is it just going to strike me like, it looks great, this don't feel great, this feels wrong, to me. And so my first reaction was a little more tepid than yours was. That I was like, well, I watched it twice. The second time I watched it, I was like, it does look really good. I mean, I like that they're going to like change. I mean, the biggest flaw with old Mega Man is that like the sprite count limited how many enemies or how large an enemy count could be on the screen at a time. So Mega Man isn't that hard a lot of times when you're playing it, at least in the levels before the boss rushes at the end. You can rely on the game not being able to challenge you because it can only throw 2, 3, 4 enemies at you at once without the flicker starting to happen, or like one really big enemy at a time without the flicker like leaping all over the screen. And you're just like, well, you're fighting through flicker a lot of times on those old games, and it's just the way it is. You didn't see it when we were kids. Now when I play as an adult, I see it, but my eyes know how to compensate for it, and I don't mind it that much. It's like, okay, well, they were taxing the system, or they weren't good at programming, one or the other, but looking at it, that's the thing. It's like, it looks so pretty, and there's like so many enemies on screen, or like there's lots of enemies doing weird things in those short trailers, where you get a lot of action and visuals and like an animation and lots of frames per second. And I'm like, it just doesn't look like what Mega Man looks like to my brain, even though it looks great, and I'm like, well, Mega Man does look 8-bitty to me in my mind, and he has certain limitations of like even the presentation. So like, I want to dial back and say that like, I want to be enthusiastic. Right now I'm in a like wait and see mode completely, like just neutral, 50-50. Like this could be fun, and it could end up being fun and still not a game that I want to play, or it could end up being awesome. And it could be like a Shovel Knight reboot where you're like, well, that's not a good example because Shovel Knight is trying to be an old looking game in a lot of ways. Like it's, this isn't trying to look old. This is in fact trying to look like Mega Man rebooted, like, and it's like, that's all fine. Like, I'm not going to say they shouldn't do it. If it fails, I don't feel like I'm worried that Mega Man's gone forever. He's a huge property, and whether or not the people behind the helm are the people that, were there from the very beginning, that's obviously not the case anymore. It's like, well, I'm not worried he's going away. He's appeared in mobile games. He's appeared in fighting games now. He's a superstar. Capcom isn't getting out of the game business. So
well,
it's
the fact
like
that he has a new game is already good news.
So,
I forget, I was listening to Game Explain's discussion, and Ash Paulson is like, is it safe to be a Mega Man fan now? Do we not have to like, can we have hope again? Because what happened with every other like Capcom or Mega Man related like stream or whatever is they're like, oh, we got some cool stuff, and it's like, are you gonna announce a game? Are you gonna announce a game? Are you gonna announce a game?
Yeah.
It's like, no, more merch, and we're like, damn it. So it was like that the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh crap, you're doing something, and it's like not real. I don't want to say real, but I guess legitimate. Like, it's not just some offshoot garbage tie-in or anything. It's like they're being serious with it. So it's like,
it's Mega Man.
we can feel safe.
Yeah, it's Mega Man, and that's great. And so I don't want to be a killjoy.
Yeah, no.
So I will say that I'm like tepid, not tepid. I am
cautiously optimistic.
Cautious. Well, cautious would be a better way to put it. Optimism would be the wrong word. I'm glad Mega Man isn't being resigned to the garbage dump of great video game heroes. I'm glad about that. Let's wait and see. I mean, I'm not going to even say Mega Man doesn't have room to grow, because for me, I definitely as a kid, like as a guy who owned an NES and a Super NES and an N64, practically all of them my whole life, I I stopped playing Mega Man on NES. I never owned 4, 5, and 6 on NES because first of all, they came out much later in the system's life cycle. I was a kid, I didn't have a lot of money.
Mhm.
But part of it was that was like even then, I didn't have like some deep analysis of it, but like even if I was marginally aware of them, it's like the idea that the series wasn't really changing that much at that time wore me out, and
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of money to get games. I got a game every few several months, and usually it was just like renting them or borrowing them from somebody, and so like I honestly don't recall if I ever remember Mega Man 4 being on my radar as a kid. I don't know what year it came out. It might have been like really late in NES cycle. I don't know. I might have been in the Game Boy at that point and spending all my money there. I have no idea. I have to try and figure out my own timeline to figure that out. But I don't even remember it at all existing, and I never owned them. I bought them, as an adult, just within the last couple of years. And it's like the gameplay's repetition for me would have been a barrier if I was aware of them, because I might have seen them in like Nintendo Power or something and been like, yeah, who cares? Like I liked that game when it was 1 and 2 and 3, but dudes, like now it's like listen to the goofy names that are these bosses, and it's getting weirder and weirder. Like, what is this, Pyramid Head Man? Like what are you talking about? Like this doesn't even make sense. It made sense when he had electric powers and fire powers and stuff like that. That was awesome. You know what I mean? But even by 3, I remember as a kid thinking, some of these powers are a lot like the powers in the last one. You know what I mean? Like, they just look different, but like, is this that different than this? Like I can't name them off the top of my head, but like there were definite cases where it was like, or like just
like every game has a shield ability.
Yeah, and like some of them, like every single game, once they started expanding the roster, has a couple powers that are just plain stinky, that are like, this sucks, like you're never going to use this, you know what I mean? Like, or you can't figure out what it's for 90% of the time, and you're like that's cool in a way, but like when you fight through this whole level to get this power and then it doesn't do anything, or it's just like a power you have already or you got in a former game, you're just kind of like, meh, so like as a kid, which contributes directly to why Mega Man 5 is the most expensive, because for some reason that one must have sold the least or was produced in the smallest numbers, so it's the most valuable Mega Man game there is. Well, no, that wouldn't be true. The one on SNES that we were just talking about is more expensive, technically speaking. So like 5 last time I checked, 5 is around $80 to $100, like for an NES cart. So like and then 6 is for some reason cheaper on average. Yeah, so like anyway, yeah, that's partly why they're rare. 4 apparently must have sold well enough, because 4 is really like a $30 cartridge, like roughly these days. So it's like probably the sales are pretty strong still at that point, that the numbers and the copies out there are available. But yeah, like I don't know, like even as a kid. So my point was, like, I'm not someone who's like a Luddite who wants to say there's no room for Mega Man to change, even in spite of me admitting that like 1 is my favorite because it's the simplest one in some ways. I just enjoy it the most. That's a little bit of nostalgia, and I admit that. Like, if you can figure out something interesting to do with Mega Man without breaking the core thing or making it feel too different, I'm all in. Like, I loved 9, how it had the achievements, and it made it fun because I beat the game, but now I got something to go back and do, like all the different like limiting achievements that they gave you, like to fill out that package, was cool, and I enjoyed it. I almost overplayed it, where I remember getting sick of it at some point. I was like, I'm not going to get all these achievements, I got to stop, like I'm just making myself hate this game, but so yeah, so I mean, maybe this will be that, maybe 11 will be that, and I'll have the combination of great graphics with like original feeling gameplay, mechanics, and maybe some new things that make me like enjoy it, because they've had a lot of time to learn, and I heard the Legacy Collection was pretty popular on the other systems when they originally debuted. So so more power to them, like I do want to see Nintendo succeed, Mega Man succeed. So yeah. So cool.
I guess
Mega
I don't want
Legends,
to
bro.
on too long, but they did have some details of it, but from the gameplay, it looks pretty tight. Like just how, what I recall Mega Man controlling, like when he drops, he sticks in place. Like there's no sliding or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Just he's basically like an anchor.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he looks pretty good there. But Yeah, apparently
That's good. That's good because Mega Man's supposed to fall like a stone. That is
he is.
real Mega Man physics. He's not a floaty character in any way. Like, make no mistake. Yeah, that's I'm in favor of that. That sounds good to me. So okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, there was some
Makes sense.
details.
He's a robot. He's made of metal.
Yeah.
For God's sake. You know, he's like a closet of metal, like that he opens up and pulls out all these other metal parts like constantly, you know, like dude is heavy. Dude is a heavy guy. So I'm down with that. Makes sense to me. Yeah. Heavy Mega Man.
Apparently the abilities are supposed to have multiple uses, so we'll see how well that turns out. It'll be cool that I think they're doing that at least. And in one of the screenshots from a magazine article, I think it was Game Informer, they actually show Mega Man dressed up as one of the other Mega Man forms. Is from Star Force. So that's
interesting.
really weird because I don't think there's really any other Mega Man games that like let you not dress up, whatever. Let's just say dress up as like any of the other ones and like have a power. I don't think they've like, other than like story beats, I don't think they've really cross-referenced each other like in actual abilities or anything like that. So it'll be neat to see what the heck this does.
Not sorry about all the coughing, everyone. I have a pretty bad cold right now. Yeah, that's not something I don't know about all the other series, but like the core series, I don't know that there's ever been a crossover. I obviously haven't played 7 or 8, like as I've mentioned here, but no, that seems to be a new idea. So that's cool. I can get down with that. I don't mind a meta intra universe like crossover reference. That sounds, you know, entertaining at the very least to me. So that's cool. So,
what's weird is they tried to do that at one point. It was called Mega Man Universe, and basically you could swap Mega Man's body parts for other characters. It was more of like a Capcom whatever, I don't even know what to call it, like a love letter to Capcom where you play a Mega Man game but you could have like I don't know, parts from the Ghosts and Goblins guy or Ryu from Street Fighter. Like you could have one of their arms or the head or the legs or something like that. Yes. The trailer is kind of funny. It's like a Smash Brothers like trailer, but I wonder if they got that from that, because that was like one of the games they canceled. When Inafune left, and then there's a 7-year hiatus. So I wonder if they got it from that. Like, hey, that was a cool idea. Let's bring it back, sort of.
That's funny. Random note, and we should move on. We've been with mega podcasting here, Mega Man podcasting. Yeah. And like I was playing a game that I've mentioned many episodes ago on my Famicom, one of the games I got in Japan, which roughly translated as Hell Island. But it's a Capcom joint, and in it, one of the bosses you fight is one of the bosses from Ghosts and Goblins that you just mentioned. And I was like, what the heck? Like I first of all, I didn't realize, to be honest, it was a Capcom game I was playing. I didn't really put it together because it doesn't like instantly look like a Capcom game, at least not the Capcom games I think of. And it was funny. It's like, and it's an intentional crossover. I can't read Japanese, but I went and looked at a help file, and one of the characters in the level that you meet, it's mostly like an action adventure game, sort of like Star Tropics. Or a little bit like Zelda, very, very little bit, but a little bit like Zelda 1. But like one of the NPCs you meet, I didn't know what he was saying, and it turns out it's either supposed to be Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins, or it's a knight like him. And what he's saying to you, if I recall correctly, is that he's warning you that all the characters in this level are left over from Ghosts and Goblins, and that you're going to fight them all. And then the boss, I didn't realize it. I didn't really recognize them. They just look like zombies and like monsters. They didn't strike me as Ghosts and Goblins inherently. But the boss is like definitively one of the bosses from Ghosts and Goblins, and I knew it right away. I was like, oh my God, look at this. It's amazing. So it was kind of funny. Just a random crossover in a game that was never translated to America, where those characters leaked into another universe. So yeah, one of those fun things about trying video. It's one of those fun things about video games. One of those fun things. So yeah. Yeah. What else is in the news, my friend? What else we got to talk about?
Were you interested in ukulele?
I've never played them. I'm happy to hear about it if there's some news on the horizon, but I've never played them, so I don't have an opinion.
Yeah, it's coming out on Switch this week, or it already did. I forget when the date was, but it's coming
Is
out.
is that the historical whatever the spiritual sequel to Banjo-Kazooie? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was that the one you and Mike played and you weren't so hot on it, or am I thinking of the wrong game?
I didn't. I think Mike did. Yeah, Mike did, and he said he was. I forget what he said about it. I think felt like it was okay.
Yeah, that sounds right. He probably said it was pleb trash. I'll give it an 8 out of 10, like something like that. Like some confusing review that's like it's garbage, it's shit,
it's good but not great.
It was good but not
great, but not good. That's
amazing but not interesting.
Oh
yeah. This is someone's first episode. They're really wondering what this Mike character by now, and believe me, so are we. So yeah, I think I remember you guys talking about it, and that you were bummed that it wasn't good, but you didn't have a way to play it at the time or something, and it was just a case of like Mike playing it, but just grinding for the achievements or something. He probably said or something like that. But no. So it's coming to Switch anyway. Is this a good thing to you or what?
Yeah, that's cool. It'll look cool. I got a PS4, so I don't know. I don't know which one I would want it on. I might get whatever.
Right.
But
you want it portable. You want it portable unless there's some reason it would be better on the other system. Like that's like not even being a Nintendo fanboy. Like now it's like, why would you ever choose this system where it's not portable?
So I don't care about I kind of don't care about portability because I don't like take my Switch outside of the house, but it is convenient to be able to take it around the house to be like, oh, right, I don't have to stop playing on the TV. I can just play it like in my lap, or I guess I could just take it in the basement as well, but I'm not going to unhook a PS4 and bring it from upstairs to downstairs and all that crap.
Absolutely.
So it's like a lot more convenient. As long as it looks decent, like good enough on the TV, fine.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, I mean, like making sure that it looks good on the television, that it hasn't been like downscaled somehow for use on the Switch. And when I say portability, that's almost what I'm getting at. I don't necessarily mean like taking it all around the world, but that whole like literally not being tied to a television, like
it is really convenient
feature. Yeah, I mean if it's cheaper elsewhere, fine argument.
This is going to be this is going to be a problem for me whenever I start playing my PS4, because the last time I wasn't able to play something like on a handheld in some form was my PS3, and that was like I stopped playing that when I got my Wii U. So it's gonna be like, oh, you haven't had to stay tied to a TV for the last like 5 years. Let's see how that works again. But
that's true. Yeah, because you probably played your Wii U in some handheld mode some of the time too. So yeah, interesting, man. Yeah, that's an interesting factor. I can completely admit it's going to affect me going forward, and I'm sure Nintendo internally, since at this point I'm sure they're in the like brainstorming phase of like what's next for Nintendo kind of thing, like, well, we've got a huge hit on our hands here, right? As far as things look right now, we got a huge hit. This Switch is doing great. We have a game plan like that we're laying out for the next 3 years minimum, like that this is going to be our big focus for the next 3 years minimum. But we all know that Nintendo is not one to rest on their laurels, and that whether it's Zelda or Mario or whatever, they've openly acknowledged before that as soon as one ships, the new ones, and they're brainstorming, we could almost say, ideas for the next ones. They're looking at those big series and saying, what is the next thing we're going to do here? And that extends the hardware, obviously, too, that it's like, well, what's our next thing? Like, we got to start testing ideas, because they're the company we love when they succeed, and we stand by when they fail. And part of that is that they like to tinker and do new ideas. They're not just like beefing up Switch so that Switch 2 is going to be a super powerful Switch. It's never going to be that, or it might. Who knows? I mean, Nintendo's getting a little more conservative with some of their decisions lately than we're used to seeing, where it's like, Switch is weird as hell. Like, let's not forget, it's weird. It's got detachable controllers, you know, and like these Joy-Cons you hold in your hands, like they're kind like they that DNA that they took from all their different systems that they showed their little reel of, like, this is like the Switch is like piece of every Nintendo consoles in this console in a little bit of a way, you know, here and there. Like, but they're still out there thinking like, so what can we do next? And I guarantee one of those conversations they're having is along the lines of what we're talking about, is like, this handheld shit is working out. Like, it's 3DS, huge success after it got off the ground, like after it got running. Like the DS, like one of the greatest selling game systems in history. Like, this console thing, we've been struggling a little bit and losing market share. But now, like, we just blurred the line of what console means, and we're back, baby. We're back, you know, like, and so we've got to keep doing this. Like, we can't back away from this, even if we're insane Nintendo, who wants to make our hardware always a new, different, funny, unique, like, strange shaped hardware. You know, even if that's part of our thing, we gotta make money, and that is, we are clearly winning this time around. Like, we at least out the gate, we're doing very well. So whatever the next Nintendo console is, I guarantee you, whatever R&D is doing right now, they're probably operating under the assumption that it should be another handheld thing, like in some form like this. And I wouldn't be surprised if the other big game companies are doing the exact same thing right now, sweating this and like trying to get something ready for E3 next year, where they can say, well, you've heard of Scorpio and you've heard of Xbox One, you heard of this and that, you know, but now we're announcing, like, your PlayStation 4 is on the go, portable, you know, like, because they want to have that story too, because those companies don't try to innovate as much as Nintendo. They in fact try to play catch up with, like, Kinect and all that motion move stuff, and like anything else that hits, they want to be a part of it, you know. And like VR, I don't know how VR is doing. I don't track it. I mean, are they going to continue to bet big time on VR? Or are they going to look at what's selling and say, hey, we want to be a part of that? Nintendo's like eating some lunch of ours now, like with this stuff, you know, they've become a force to reckon with, even if they're not outselling us. Nintendo, you can't count them out. And in fact, the Switch is awesome. It's not just like sales hype, you know, like we want to have our console like that too, because everyone's gaming perspective is shifting to that mindset where you want to have it, that you have the option to go on the go, not that you want to go on the go, but that you have the option to pick it up and go in the other room, and that, you know, or take it on the train, or just sit in a different freaking room is the thing that I love about it. I'm like, I don't have to sit in the same living room and play games every night. I can unplug the dock and in 5 minutes take it to another TV and plug it back in if I want to. On another TV, it takes about 5 minutes, all less really. Like, it's more a matter of just getting the AC adapter unplugged is really the thing that takes the longest, you know, because I have to get behind the TV to do that or whatever. That alone, you know, like you said, just sit in other areas. Even if I'm not going to play it on the handheld mode, I can play it on a different television, or take it to my family's house and play it on their TV with very minimal setup, you know, to it. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we love Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I don't think they can. I'll just say I don't think they can go back from doing handhelds. Like,
I don't think so.
You've already made it. Like, you have to stick with it now, especially because, like you said, like, their handhelds have always been so successful. It's like this just proves it kind of more.
Yeah,
it's like pretty much. How do you go back from making it a console that you can take anywhere? It's like, nope, you're gonna stick it at home again. It's like, wait, what? This thing,
I want to make a big
was popular
claim
for a reason, and now you're gonna go against that. Why?
Yeah. So. No, exactly. I want to make a big bold claim, and like, let's say the testing of this theory would be E3 or something like that next year. Mm-hmm. Would be that if the other consoles do come out with like a handheld announcement, you know, of some sort, you know, like that, like is basically them trying to be Switch in some form. You know, we're not doing Vita again. We're literally saying the PS5, they wouldn't announce that yet, I guess, but like, you know, PS4 redesign or the Xbox One redesign or something is going to be a handheld version that you can play on the go, the same games you play at home. Like, we're not doing Vita, we're doing what Switch is doing, basically, that they're going to be one and the same. If they do that, Nintendo will once again be able to say we changed the industry. You know, that it'll be like we didn't just give you what you thought you wanted. We gave you something new, and we effectively changed the conversation again. You know, that like we changed the conversation, the N64 changed the conversation. You can point to almost everything, you know, like that their successes, all of them, and like have some degree of that on average, but like these big bottlenecks where you're like, wow, motion controls and Wii really like dropped like a bomb on the gaming industry, you know, like, and just shifted everything for a good long time, you know. And this could do it again. This could be tectonic in the long run if we do switch to a world where smartphones aren't going away as a force to be reckoned with for gaming, whether or not we shun that kind of crap, that kind of pleb shit, you know. But but they're there, and they're portable, and it's changing the way people think of games. It's permanently shifting the way people think of gaming. That it's like, well, why would I want to sit in front of my TV when I've got this 1-inch screen I could play a game on? Yawn, yuck, barf. Yeah. But then you have these other alternatives where it's like, well, Switch ain't no 1-inch screen, and it's awesome, and really good games are on it, and so it fills that niche of like what a smartphone does well, which is be portable, and does the other things well, which smartphones don't do, which is have good games with substance to them, you know, like, and have something that, you know, you're going to want to play and tell your friends about, more than just like, yeah, I've got a Farmville going over here, you know, like, it's pretty great, we can all do it, and like spend $1 a day playing, you know, a sim game here together or something like that. Yeah. So like, yeah, I don't know, it's changing the conversation. Switch is both like a game changer and an answer to a problem that the gaming industry has been, you know, to greater or lesser degrees fighting. Nintendo's had it worse because they've been having to fight the smartphone thing more directly, because the smartphone was encroaching on two of their best things, which is the kiddie market. Two of their strongest areas, the kiddie market, but also the handheld market. And like, so they were like, Nintendo like fought back in the best way possible, which is like, well, we'll just make a better handheld, you know, that you can't ignore, you know, like, you can't ignore this. It's going to be in everyone's face. So like how good it is and how quality it is. And, you know, those other companies want a part of it. The only question to me is, do they, you know, go ahead. Yeah,
I was just going to say, yeah, there were leaks of Sony trying to make a portable PS4 and I think some other stuff.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I mean, if they weren't trying it or having some of their teams work on it, they'd be foolish. Like, that's all there is to it. They'd be foolish not to at least explore it and say, is this theoretically possible for us to do at a price that makes sense there? And is it technologically possible for us to get the power into a package that can fit in some kind of bag? I mean, I don't think Switch is particularly portable. I think it's too big. Like, I really do. I love it, but I think it's too big to really think of as a portable. I'm like, dude, I'm the guy that like, once I played an XL DS, like, I never wanted to go back, or an XL 3DS. I was like, no, this is it. But that's like the limit, because you can't fit a Switch in your pocket.
Yeah,
you know,
you
like,
can barely fit an XL in your pocket unless you have parachute pants.
You know, I am a large man, and I have large pockets as well, so I can.
I
but
bore
it's
a hole in my pants for the dang thing.
Yeah, I don't wear tight jeans or nothing, so I can fit them in mine. But you know, I didn't imagine you as a tight jean wearing guy. But you know, that we'll save that for after the podcast. But it's like Switch is too big, and it's so fragile, like in a way that like the whole man purse I have to carry around with me to like tote it around. Like this I felt ridiculous the other day. Like I felt utterly ridiculous, like, because I wanted to take my Switch with me when my wife wanted to go to the mall to go shopping for some Christmas stuff, and like I dutifully went along. She wouldn't have cared if I would have skipped it, but I was like trying to spend the day with her, so like I went along. I hate the mall. I think it's so boring. So after I had talked about it was the day after Black Friday, and like I took my Switch along, but I felt so ridiculous because I got to carry this little man purse along with me, this little blue Zelda icon man purse, like walking around the mall. Like I look like there's something wrong with me. Like it's not even like a funny little lunchbox that like I'm some kind of hipster or something. Like it's this rounded little, like it is a purse. I am carrying a purse, a man bag. Like, and I'm like, it doesn't look cool in any way. Like even if it was like one of the coolest Switch cases there is. It still doesn't look cool. It looks like it's too small to be a briefcase. It's too large. Yeah, it's too small to be a briefcase. It's too large to be like a wallet.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what are you doing? You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm protecting my valuable video game console. You know, like that's all it is. I'm not trying to be cool. I genuinely am not. I just can't put this shit in my pocket. It'll get scratched, broken. You know, it's like, well, maybe you should stay in your house and never come out would be what I would say to myself if I saw me and like didn't know what I was doing. You know, like look at you, dude. Like, come on. It's a pastel little man purse, bro. Like, you know, come on. But hey, didn't stop me. I was playing Binding of Isaac, sitting on a bench in the mall and having a great time and ignoring the world. And I was like, I was fine with that. So I dealt with the humiliation, but just saying, you know, so, but there's no coming back from this, you know, like I do wonder how much this issue does affect how many people take their Switches around, because with the number they're selling and moving, I never see them in public. And I travel a fair amount. I'm out around the city a lot. I do not recall ever seeing someone else with a Switch, like on the train or even on a plane or in any public space other than Nintendo World or at a game store.
Yeah.
It's like I just never see them, and I wonder how much that affects like how many people like do take them places. But so far it hasn't hurt them. I mean, everybody apparently is taking it places, but it isn't like I spot it, you know, in public or anything like that. So far. So yeah. Anyway, we've been going on a bit. What else is in the news today? We got to talk about before we wrap this two man show. We got a few pieces of news here.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time. So GameCube and Wii games are coming to Nvidia Shield in China. Apparently they're not running on the hardware, they're being streamed, which is something I just found out recently. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because China is kind of its own separate thing when it comes to gaming, because they've never really had like the actual consoles. For the longest time, companies had to make just weird name changes. Like I think some of the Nintendo products were like branded as IQ, like IQ UE players, and only like select games actually got ported over or whatever. It's because there's some law there, and only recently they actually like changed the law, so now you can like have actual consoles there. So yeah, it's really weird. I guess it kind of makes sense because Nvidia is making like the Switch, so I don't know. I guess they work with that partnership because Nintendo's made, like I just said, the other game products. And I don't know. I guess if they could maybe they can't bring the Switch to China. I'm pretty sure. I heard they could. I don't know.
Really know the story. Could you explain what an NVIDIA Shield is exactly? Is it a computer?
It's basically like the Switch.
Okay.
I think the Switch kind of uses the same hardware or something. It's similar.
So some sort of portable.
You can hook it up to your TV, but you can also play it portably.
Okay, so I vaguely heard that China has their own rules and limitations on what can be imported and all that kind of stuff. I have heard that a couple times. But I mean, you've buried, as they say in the news industry, I believe you've buried the lead here. Like, so what does this mean for us? Like, if they're bringing some GameCube games to China, if this is true and they're bringing these GameCube, what's the cash value? Tell the listeners what the cash value of this is. What does this mean for us?
That's the thing. I'm not sure if it does or not, because China is so weird. It might just be like, yeah, well, we'll just toss a couple of things there, and it doesn't really mean we've actually started virtual console or whatever. I mean, I'm sure it's in development, but I don't know if this is like, oh man, this came in China, we're gonna get virtual console next month or something like that. It might just be like a separate concurrent thing where it's like, yeah, we're working on virtual console, but whatever.
Right.
Throw China a couple of bones and virtual console won't come for like several months or something. I don't know. It could go either. I think that's probably the more likely case.
Right.
I don't think it's like, oh man, they have it in China, we're going to get it in like a week. It's like, well, that one really makes sense, because why the heck would they put more effort into doing something for China than the world, basically?
Well, one answer to play devil's advocate would be China's one of the biggest markets and expanding markets in the world for anything.
There is that
so
too.
It would be like, let's get some money would be one answer. Like, you know, like,
but it's also like it's GameCube and Wii games, so it's like.
Mm-hmm. But if they haven't had them or wide access to them, and they, for, you know, I don't know the ins and the outs of the business of why that, you know, but I mean, if I think you're wise to say hesitantly, like, let's wait and wonder, you know, but I think the thing in that, excuse me, I think the thing in that story was that they'd been upscaled, the games, right? Like that they're like showing upscaled versions of a couple games that are GameCube games, or Wii games. So if they're putting that work in to do that, and this is like the same, like you're saying, this is the same tech, under the hood tech, effectively, that Switch runs on. Well, I think it's a fair conclusion, although not guaranteed. It is a fair conclusion that we may be getting those eventually. I mean, like, why would they go to the trouble to upscale something? You know, yeah. Okay.
I don't know if it actually, if they would have actually had to do anything different. It could just be like they have. I don't know how to put it. Resident Evil Revelations on the 3DS was made for the 3DS, but they made high resolution textures for it, and I think higher poly count models in case they were going to bring it to consoles. So it might just be like, oh well, you know, they made these games at 1080p or whatever high quality. It's just that the Wii couldn't run them, so it was effectively like downscaled. But I guess like kind of future proofing it, like we'll make it a great quality, but we just have to, you know, downscale it for this sort of thing. So it might just be like that's why it's better quality.
Right. It could be.
I don't know.
I mean, like I have a hard time believing that Wii games were not excuse me, that were not up, like that they wouldn't have to do work to get them like running like on something else. Like, I mean, because they did not design Wii games future proofed for like 1080 or something like that, you know, like that just
here's the difference though. So, like, is it I don't know how to word this.
Is it an HD remake, or are they just upscaling? Is that what you're getting at? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting at.
No end, yeah. I love it.
I know. I didn't get much sleep.
You sound just like my wife, Matt. No end, yes. I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to tell me here. Whatever.
I know.
Welcome to marriage. Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. I got you into a corner.
What
you
I'm
don't know what you
believe. I don't think it's like, it's not like Wind Waker HD where I don't think it's like Wind Waker HD where they had to actually like go in and change things to make it look better. I think 1080p just in this case means like they literally scaled up the game. Like let's say it was already 16:9 resolution. It's like, okay, well, we'll just upscale it. It doesn't necessarily mean that, I guess, the pixel density or quality is better. Like, essentially, like when you go into Photoshop and stretch an image, sure, you can stretch it to a certain resolution, but that doesn't mean it's like the actual quality of it, right?
This is a very interesting stuff. No, I get it. This is a very interesting discussion you're presenting. One of my favorite podcasts not podcasts, some of my favorite gaming internet celebrities are from a group called My Life in Gaming, that they specialize in discussions like this. They're really into retro gaming and all the things come in with resolutions and technology adapting to the modern age. And I often like go to their live streams on the internet when they're broadcasting, and they tend to answer questions if people like are in the chat and you ask a couple times, because they're usually playing games at the same time or talking about a topic. But I can ask them this if I get a chance next week when they do their live stream, and I'll be like, it's a little bit of a long-winded question. I'll have to think how to present it. I'll be like, do you think that how to pare down this question we're wondering about? It's like would these games need reworked to be presented in 1080, or using your analogy, or is it possible they've just done something like a shortcut that doesn't really involve upscaling the game in any, you know, it's like I'll have to think of a way to phrase the question because I'm not even sure of the right terminology for how to ask it. Like we're running into here, but yeah, like because they are the guys that could like weigh in very knowledgeably on this and say like, yeah, you could do it that way, and that's all that might be, or no, it would look like garbage on a modern television, and here's why. Like, you know, if you tried to pull that trick, you wouldn't be able to pull it off without people like being revolted. You know, like if you tried to stretch Mario Galaxy or, you know, or something else into 1080, like you would not be able to play it. It would look like so stupid you wouldn't be able to stand it. You know, something like that. So, who knows? Who knows? Interesting. I'll have to remember to try and get that question to some experts. So interesting. I'm wondering what this does mean though. So.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to add because some of these games at least were on the Wii U when they did the Wii Virtual Console for all like 5 games that they did. Because I don't know what the deal was with that either. If they actually like did something with 1080p, I quickly glanced on Reddit where someone asks, "Oh, is Mario Galaxy resolution on, or what's the resolution of Galaxy on Wii U?" And one person put like it's 480p. It's just upscaled to 1080p. Looks pretty much the same as if you ran it. So that might also be the case. Because I was gonna say it would be weird if it looks better for the Nvidia Shield in China randomly, and they didn't put that effort on the Wii U.
Right.
Like it would be weird if there was just a random disconnect there versus it's like the same thing. So
yeah, interesting. Yeah, you're right. Right. None of us we know very little about this because it's just broke minutes before we started recording. So yeah, maybe there'll be more news coming as people dig into this more. So we will see. So cool.
And then, I guess the last bit of news is just the Super Mario Brothers cereals coming out, which we kind of talked about before.
We started at where we end where we started, man. Yeah. So how many boxes are you getting?
So funny thing is when I looked up the article, because I like to keep sources even though like no one sees them anyway, just in case I have to go back and reference it mid podcast, and it said Kellogg's is like, yeah, we're not bringing it to Canada. I'm like, okay.
Oh man, you got to get your importer export get up for you, man. Like this is like when
too few people get lost.
Oh man, why do you think, man? Because Canada doesn't like cereal, or what? You guys hate cereal up there? What's the problem?
I guess so.
You just like give up. You're just like, I guess so.
I like Fruit Loops.
Man, I just can't even believe it. Like, here's the thing: I got to mail something to Canada this week. I gave up on I was working on my Nintendo my Famicom disk system, and I just cannot get it to work reliably. So I was on a Famicom World website, and I found a guy who's a modder who lives in Toronto, in fact, who said he'll mod it for me for a really. He'll fix it basically for me. That he'll give me a guarantee that it'll work reliably at least for a certain amount of time. So I'm mailing it to him. I wish the Nintendo cereal was out, and then I could give him your address and be like, I also need you to run by this guy's house and drop off this Nintendo cereal for him, you know, so he can be like chewing on some marshmallows with me on the next podcast. Because if you don't think I'm going to eat Nintendo cereal live on this podcast for the viewers to hear, you are wrong, sir. You are wrong. I'm going to do a mic. I'm going to be the guy that eats. I shouldn't have spoiled it. I was already thinking. I was like, I'm going to eat this and review it live. Like it'd be like, it's crunchy. It's not as good as Apple Jacks, but it's pretty good. Like it's great, but not awesome. But yeah, I have low expectations here, and I'll tell you why. I am the older member of this podcast.
As long as there's marshmallows, they don't care.
True that, but I've mentioned it before. I am old enough to have eaten the original Nintendo cereal system when in the 80s when they released it, and it was utter garbage. And that was me as a kid with all the tolerance of a kid. It's like, yeah, I don't expect a lot out of my cereals. I kind of expect them to taste like garbage with marshmallows in it, you know. And that shit was utter trash. I remember. I am pretty sure I remember that I didn't finish it. And my mom remember asking her, like, because I loved Nintendo even back then. I was a freaking kid and I loved Nintendo. And I was like, I gotta have the Nintendo cereal, and like, oh my god, it's so awesome, and it's got two sides of the box. It was like a box with two halves to it, like nerds candy. That like one half of the box is Mario, one half of the box is Zelda, and like I was like, I gotta have it. And I swear, I don't think it's a false memory. I was really young, but I remember my mom being like, "Aren't you gonna finish this or what? Like, you can't keep it forever." And I was like, "Get rid of it. It's not very good." Like, and she threw it out, And I remember feeling bad about it. That I was like, "Dude, my loyalty is in question here about Nintendo. That I should shovel this crap down my throat." And I regret that I don't have that box anymore. I regret that I didn't know it would be a valuable collector's item decades and decades later, because that shit probably went in the burn barrel out back behind my parents' house, and it probably poisoned the landscape with the toxic fumes coming off that disgusting cereal. But I miss it, and so my bar is very low for whatever cereal comes out of this collaboration with Kellogg's. And I'm like, if it's better than my memory of how that tasted, which is weird, I have very bad memory, but I can still sort of remember how it tasted. It was like chalky and cardboardy, and just like with a hint of fruit flavor. Just the grossest. Like I never liked Captain Crunch. I always think Captain Crunch is really crappy cereal. I just think it. I know it's popular, so I'm probably on the outs of that. I remember thinking it was like shitty Captain Crunch, which is already bad for me. It
basically looks like Lucky Charms, and Lucky Charms suck because those pieces that aren't marshmallow are garbage.
Oh yeah, they're terrible.
It's like,
they're terrible.
You gotta eat dust.
Yeah, to get to the marshmallows. I know. And anyone who's listening a long time here and is like sitting there thinking, "Oh, Clay's a hypocrite. He eats marshmallows because I'm a vegetarian." Like, I know marshmallows aren't vegetarian. You don't have to call me a hypocrite. I barely ever eat them. I'll make an exception to eat a bowl of, because if you're wondering, Matt's probably sitting there thinking marshmallows aren't vegetarian. Yes, they have particles of hoof in them. Yes, like marshmallows are not a vegetarian approved food. What? But I know. Why do you put hoof in marshmallows? I know why.
Yeah, I heard that. I think I heard of that about like gelatin.
Yeah, Jello.
How do you get something so hard and weird into something that's like the opposite property?
Yeah, believe you me.
I can understand we put some animal fat in here and that's why it's goopy. It's like, okay, I get that, but how do you turn something? Like, what do they do? Grind it up into a dust and then like mix cornstarch or some crap with it? Like, how do you make that happen?
I don't know. I know it's disgusting and weird. And it's like you don't really want to think about it. You're just like, that's really weird. Why is that in there? Like, that's horrible.
But it in my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like,
just
this is really weird and gross. Nom.
Well, you are Canadian. You eat it. I can't remember is it Tom Robbins? What's the name of your funny restaurant? Tom.
I have no idea. Tom Robbins. No.
Robbins. That's a famous author. Like Tom. What is it called? Your donut shop that you have on every corner.
Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons, baby. Like, I was like, you do eat at Tim Hortons. I mean, you are Canadian. No, I'm just busting chops. I don't even know what they serve at Tim Hortons. I just love the name because you see it everywhere you go in Canada. You're like, Tim Hortons, what the hell's that? We don't have like any of them in America except in like, if you're right on the border with Canada, you see Tim Hortons and that's it. It's like, that's just to appease you guys when you cross over so you feel like you're still at home for like a half hour. And it's just like, oh yeah, forget it, guys. There's no Tim Hortons anywhere else. Like, I haven't seen one of those in years. I haven't thought of Tim Hortons. That's why I couldn't remember the name. I used to see it all. I used to come up there for my job all the time, and I'd be like, so I guess that's like Dunkin' Donuts for like Canadian people. Like, I'm not going in there. I'm scared. They might have like something weird, like marshmallows or something. So yeah, that's all the news that's fit the print. Am I right? No, I'm gonna be totally getting some of that cereal. I'm excited. I can't wait. I like the branding on the box. I like that the box is an amiibo.
Yeah, that's
I was like,
so weird.
Yeah, I like it. I like that it's official amiibo. Like, the box is an amiibo.
How much lower can amiibos go? You got you got a cardboard box. It's pathetic.
How am I going to fit it on my shelf? My other amiibo is my main problem here.
It's so disjointed. Like, oh man, I got all these. Well, maybe it's not so disjointed because amiibo look like McDonald's figures anyway. So maybe it's supposed to you're like, where are all your amiibo? Oh, they're in this box. It's the prize inside.
Yeah. Like I was thinking maybe I could make it into like a stage for them to stand on or something. Like I could make a little pyramid of like Nintendo cereal boxes for them to like perch on or something. So there's something in it. But I was selling it to my wife that way because she was dying with laughter. I played her that clip from Seth Meyers that I played at the start of the show. And she was laughing at me because I was like laughing. I'm like, this is too true. See, he's like making fun of like grown men wanting this cereal, and like here I am like with it already on the grocery list, like making fun of myself. But then like that's how my world rolls. I follow it up with like, but it's also an amiibo, honey, and she just like rolls her eyes. Like,
well, if that's the case, let's go right and get one.
She's like, you mean those fucking things that are sitting all over our living room in our house, like that I don't want sitting on every surface that are already everywhere? Like, oh, good, like that's great, glad to hear it. Like, we'll have
like,
so like, yeah. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, she's like, is that the box you're gonna throw them out in?
Yeah, truly.
It's
no,
like
I
a
like
festive
that.
full. That's how you get rid of Amiibo. You put it in the Mario box and light it on fire.
It in the Mario box. She's going to be really surprised when I put it on top of the television with all the rest of the Amiibo.
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
yes, this is where the cereal box lives now. I mean, my Amiibo, my square Amiibo. Yeah, you thought they were getting lazy when Box Boy came out and it was just a white box on a little podium. We're like, no, now it's just a cardboard box. It's even worse. Yeah. This is great. This is great stuff. I cannot wait to get like 4 boxes of it, three to seal and keep in the basement, 1 to eat. Yeah. So good stuff.
Gosh. No,
I'm excited.
Here's one more Amiibo they should make. They should partner with like a bank and just make a Mario credit card. Because it already has the NFC chip in anyway. And you could also use it to like tap if you want to pay for something on the shop.
I wouldn't be shocked if in Japan they don't have them already, because we know that they have the Mario stamps from the official post office there. I wouldn't be surprised if you can't get a Mario credit card from some bank in Japan, because I definitely think, I don't know if I mentioned in the podcast, I might have told you guys, I saw Pikachu statues, like sponsorship statues in banks, like, or some kind of credit union or something. Yeah, like I don't know exactly what that store was, but I saw it at 2 different locations. It wasn't just like the one. It seemed like it was a bank or some kind of credit union, and it seemed like they had a Pikachu endorsement, which I don't want to
that's hard,
burst
apparently.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to burst your Pokemon bubble, but it's not. It doesn't seem hard to get Pikachu to endorse you in Japan, like for anything. So, Pikachu flavored adult sex toys. Like it's just like like practically anything you want. You can get Pikachu on it. Pika loves you, Mama. Yeah, it wasn't like rare. I'll say that. So
Pikachu's
I don't know.
Used car salesman of mascots.
He really is, man. He really is.
You thought Sonic was bad doing was it a car commercial?
No, I didn't even know he did one, but I'm not shocked.
It was,
like, oh boy.
Oh man, I forget. It was a really popular car commercial series or auto insurance.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that, but it doesn't shock me. I mean, when you're Sonic and you're number 2, you got to play catch up somehow. Am I right? Like, come on. Like, I mean, it's not like Nintendo doesn't whore himself. Like Mario doesn't whore himself out everywhere to Sunday. I mean, how many sports and careers has this guy had? And he's not even near finished. I mean, he's probably been in like 50 different careers by now. It's not like we can really throw stones there too much. He is the hero of all experiences. So yeah. Anyhow, all right. Well, we've been going on a long time, man. I'm losing my voice here. I don't know if I can rant anymore about like Nintendo at this point. Like, agree. Yeah, or cereal. God's cereal, like the delicious cereal. Yeah,
this might be the best part of the podcast.
Yeah, well, you got cereals, you got the rants, you got the Mega Mans, you got all the stuff we talked about tonight. So I hope we filled everyone's brains with some goodness, or badness, or interestingness, or something. I mean, it's all we can hope for, right? So, yeah. So we're off next week, right? We said we're not gonna have a podcast next week.
Yeah, because my schedule is ass.
Yeah. It's gonna be at least a week off.
Yeah, I figured no one would want to record like later. I figure by a certain point in the week, it's too late to record because then it's like, why don't you just wait until the following Monday if you're going to wait that long?
We can probably sneak another one in the following week, although we'll have to talk. But so it looks like we'll be off next week, and then it'll be. So if you're a listener who's dying for more of our thoughts on everything cereal related, you're going to have to wait for the review. I'm going to be munching down on it before I ever get to record it. But maybe we'll do a super short episode of just the sound of me chewing. It'll be brilliant content. Like, so we'll keep you posted, right?
Yeah. So I guess I don't know what we'll do because I think Eli probably wants time. I know we usually do like a week or two off in December, so maybe we'll just record later next week and just have that as the final episode of the year or something, rather than have a week off and then record the next week and then do some disjointed thing. Because I don't know, it depends on everyone else too, so we'll figure it out. There might be another episode next week. If not, then it might be the week after.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll figure it out. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks for talking games and enduring my thoughts on cereal. I need to get these things out, Like, I try to talk about this stuff at work, and they're just like, who are you and what are you doing here? Like, we don't need to hear about this, dude. So, yeah, it's good for me to have an outlet.
Yeah, for the listeners who don't know, Unoclay got kind of cheesed off that I canceled one week because he was itching to talk about something.
Other than work.
Yeah. You're like, oh man, work's making me pissed. I got to talk about games. And I'm like, it's canceled. And you're like, no.
It was true. That week I needed an event. I had to go out and I just had to drink myself to sleep that night. I was like, I just need alcohol, make my brain go away. I'm so sad. I hate my job. It's getting better right now. So, but I still need to get all these thoughts out of my brain. So it's good to have a place to do it. So good stuff, man.
All right, good stuff. So you can find me at the Mango Viking on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Apparently not VidMe anymore because that website's shutting down. So goodbye VidMe, I guess. Too bad no one used it. Unfortunately.
Goodbye VidMe.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, what basically happened is I think most people just uploaded their content there and then just did nothing with it, like no interactions. No one went to go watch it there because we have YouTube, so why would you?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, well.
Right. Interesting.
So you better get used to those YouTube overlords and getting reamed up the butt with demonetization because you're going to be dealing with it for the next several years.
All right.
Oh, well.
All right, Matt. Good talking to you. Talk to you soon.
And where can people find you, I guess?
Oh, yeah, we got to do the sign-off. See, that's how this works. Unoclay _switch on Twitter.
I know you're new, but this is how it goes.
Yeah, I forgot we have a sign-out process. Unoclay _switch on Twitter. Follow me there for sometimes occasional pictures about gaming or other random thoughts about gaming, but I'm not a spammer, and I use it occasionally. But if you wanted to get my Switch friend code, that is a place to get it and send me a friend request because I like having friends.
Cool. So wherever you're listening, you can find it Just Another Castle pretty much everywhere on the internet. Hit us up with your questions or hit me up at the Mango Viking if you want to be a guest. So we'll see you next time and leave gaming to Nintendo.
Nintendo. It's for breakfast now. Nintendo. It's a cereal. Wow. Nintendo. Super Mario Chunks. Nintendo. In a fruit-flavored crunch. Nintendo. Here's Zelda too. Nintendo. It's very good news. Nintendo. You just can't lose. Nintendo cereal system is a super part of this nutritious